We're here on an initial permanency hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Ms. Lucero is with us representing the mother. Ms. Tolbert, who is with us. Mr. Adams is with us representing Mr. Castor. Mr. Adams, were you expecting your client?
Your Honor, I have not been able to get a hold of him, and I don't believe the caseworker has either. So
Okay.
I don't.
Then it is 9:04. This case was set for 9 o'clock. We'll proceed in Mr. Castor's absence. And we are proceeding today electronically, as the court has found good cause to proceed electronically and no one has objected. So, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Kimbra Thomas as its Your Honor. Kimbra, who do you work for?
St. Francis Ministries.
And what do you do for them?
I'm a permanency specialist.
Okay. And you filed a court report on April 6th of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of that court report.
All right, so noted, and I have read that report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Kimbra, are there any updates regarding the child, Arian?
She's doing really well. She was having a bit of an adjustment period kind of in the beginning and was struggling with some anxiety, but she's since gotten services through Therapy 2000 and she's just flourished. She's done a lot better. So overall, she's just doing really great.
And what the services you said through therapy?
Therapy 2000. I believe is what it's called. It's through daycare. It's once a week.
Okay. And what were those services focused on?
She's getting speech, occupational, and physical therapy.
Are there any other updates on her?
I think that's it for her.
Okay, great. And placement continues to take good care of her. Is that correct?
Yes, all of her needs are being met and she's gotten close to them and has just become really happy. And
okay, that's fantastic. Is she up to date on her medical and dental exams?
Yes, she is.
And other than the speech, occupational, and physical therapy you mentioned, is she in any other type of therapy?
Not at this time. We tried to get her into play therapy, but because of the wait, it was just taking a long time. But she's not really needing it right now. She's doing a lot better. And so if she does need it, we'll get her put back in it.
Okay. And how are her visits with her mother, Sarah Tolbert, going?
They are going really well. We've started an extended visitation plan for Miss Tolbert, and I believe she just had a weekend visit and everything is going smoothly.
Okay, and is the goal of that extended visitation plan to place the child back with the mother?
Yes, it is.
And do you have an anticipation date, assuming all of these visits go well and Ms. Tolbert continues to do well?
Yes, we are thinking of placing her on May 1st, just given there's no concerns during visitation, and that'll be an extended reunification plan where I monitor basically throughout the life of the case.
Okay, and to clarify, we're not asking for a monitored return. We're planning to place the child at home though, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell us how Ms. Tolbert has progressed on her services since the status hearing?
She has completed all of her services on her family plan. She's complied with all drug screens. She's done all of her classes. She's living in the Downtown Women's Center program. It's multiple housing situations where kids can be placed with the parent. And so she's done well. She's complied with all drug screens and been in contact with me. So really proud of her progress.
Okay. Can you let us know, or rather, do you know, when we plan to place the child on May 1st, will mom be in one of those programs?
Yes, so she lives in one of the houses right now, and the house she lives in, she already has a bed set up for her and all of those things. So it's ready to go.
Okay, so the physical space is already situated for the child. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Kimbra. Now, as far as the father, Richard Castor, how is he doing on his services?
Mr. Castor, he did complete a 30-day inpatient treatment back in January, I believe. But after that, I've lost contact with him. He did call me and tell me that he relapsed, and then I haven't been able to make contact with him after that. The one time I spoke to him, I told him he needs to go back to either inpatient or he needs to go to an outpatient, and he told me that he would. And then I haven't been able to reach him since then.
Okay. Is he having any visitation with the child?
He's supposed to have once a week for 1 hour, but he has missed the last 4 visitations now.
Are we asking the court today to discontinue his visitation with the child?
I would say yes.
Do we have any additional services we need to ask the court to order?
I don't think at this time, not for Sarah, and I need to talk to Richard to see if he's gotten back into treatment.
Okay, and as far as Richard, wouldn't it be best that we ask the court to order drug screening today?
Yes.
Okay, are we asking for both a hair follicle and a urinalysis?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Thomas, the report I read said that you had a pending hearing UA on Mr. Castor. Did you get the results of those?
No, sir, he didn't go.
Oh, he did.
No,
Okay.
I sent him and he didn't go.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Ms. Lucero, questions?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Ms. Thomas, is the plan, I know you stated that the plan was to place the child with Ms. Tolbert on May 1st. Will she have like another extended visit this weekend and the following weekend, and then she'll just remain there? Is that the plan?
So she will have I believe it's 2 more weekend visits, and then
Okay.
Sunday, the 30th or 31st, I apologize, I don't remember the date.
Okay.
She will go back to placement so that they can gather all of her things and make sure she's situated. And then I will pick her up Monday with all of her things and take her to Ms. Tolbert.
All right. Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adams.
Yeah, Ms. Thomas, the judge just asked you about a pending hair follicle in UA, and you stated that he didn't, or that Mr. Castor didn't show up for that. Did you communicate that with him, or has that been something you asked for?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't able to speak to him. I apologize. I have a phone number for him, but I can't get a hold of him on that number. So that test was scheduled and ready to go, but I wasn't able to tell him to go.
Okay, so he probably didn't know that he was supposed to go to that. Is that correct?
Not this last one.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, anything further, Ms. Gutierrez from Ms. Thomas?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lucero, witnesses.
Your Honor, I don't have any witnesses, but I just wanted to just state that I'm really proud of Ms. Tolbert. She's just done a great job, and I'm very proud of her. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Adams, witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is for today. No objection to the reunification plan, assuming things continue to go well, and stop dad's visits until clean drug stream.
Okay. All right, then I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue Arian's current placement. I'll order that Mr. Castor's visitations be suspended until further court order. And I will order that Mr. Castor both hair strand and UA by 4 p.m. today at Care Express here in Amarillo. All right, Ms. Tolbert, I concur with what everyone else has said. Congratulations on the progress you've made so quickly. It's good to know that this case will be coming to an end sooner than later. So congratulations to you. Okay, then you may proceed, Ms. Wiggins. Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't sworn her in, have I?
I haven't even called her. Tamara Ring is my case. And where is she currently placed?
She is placed with her paternal grandparents.
Okay, and how is she doing in that placement?
She's doing great there.
Okay. And is she being looked after all her medical? Well, I don't know. She's pretty young, so I don't know if she has little teeth yet. I'm sure she does. Everything going okay with her health-wise?
Yes, everything's going good.
Okay, perfect. Is she any kind of daycare?
She's attending a Mother's Day Out program twice a week.
Okay. Now, in regards to the mother, how is she progressing on her services?
She's doing better than what she was. She recently completed Synacor, and she's now in the Haven House working their program.
Okay. And was the Synacor the 30-day program that was mentioned in the court report?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you said she successfully completed that, is that right?
Yes.
And is she in now, you said Haven House, is that right?
Yes.
And is that an aftercare for Synacor or a different program?
It's a different program.
And does it also still help with people who have substance abuse issues?
Yes.
And has she drug tested for the department?
Not yet. She just got there over the weekend.
Got to the drug test place or
Or
Haven?
to the Haven House. She just got out of Synacor this weekend.
Okay, thank you. Are we asking for any drug testing?
Yes.
Hair and UA?
Yes.
Now, in regards to her other services, is she now engaged in those or getting engaged in them?
She'll be getting those set up.
Now, in regards to Mr. Turner, I'm sorry, Mr. Young, he is still incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to speak with him in Randall County Jail?
Yes, I have.
And has he spoken with you about being the father or what he wants to do or anything of that regard?
He's never denied being Harper's father. I think I asked him at the beginning of the case if he had any questions about whether or not he was the father, and he said no, he did not.
Okay. And let's see, in regards to services, is he able to do any services while he's in Randall County Jail?
No, he's not.
Okay. Has he asked for any services to be given to him or for any alternative services to be presented?
No, he has not.
Let's see. Is there anything else that the court needs to be aware of at this moment?
No.
Do you believe it would be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to the mother or father today?
Yes.
And do you believe there is a continuing danger in the home to be returned today?
Yes.
And based on that, do you believe that we just need Ms. Turner to continue with her substance abuse issues and start with her other services?
Yes.
All right, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Mr. Onho?
No questions, Judge.
All right. Mr. Barfield?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram?
What's the plan for mom's visitation now that she's out of Synacor?
I haven't really discussed that yet. I know at the last hearing, I believe it was ordered that she needed a clean drug screen. So, I mean, honestly, I haven't discussed that yet.
But if she is ordered to drug screen today and is clean or at a lower level than last, then I would assume the plan would be to resume supervised visitation.
Yes.
That's witness.
All right. Ms. Ring, Ms. Wiggins may have asked you this, but do you believe it would be a continuing danger to the physical health and safety of the child to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And Judge,
Right.
just to clear, I'm sorry, just
Go
to
ahead.
follow up on that, in the status hearing order, it does say that she must provide the department with a negative hair follicle and UA drug screen. Obviously, it's up to you to modify that. I'm just letting the court know that was what was ruled in the status hearing.
All right, well, let's just, when was her last drug screen? When was her last UA, Ms. Ring? Do you know?
It was November 3rd of 2022.
Okay. All right, let's see. I don't know how far I got. Did anyone else have any further witnesses?
I do not, Judge.
No, Judge.
All right.
No, Judge.
All right, then. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is. Child's doing well with the grandparents, and the resume mom's visitation if she provides clean screen.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, then I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue Harper's current placement. I'll order Mr. Young to either submit to paternity testing or he can sign an AOP, acknowledgement of paternity, if he's already acknowledged that he is the father, and save us the time and effort of having to do the paternity testing. I'll order Ms. Turner to both hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today at Care Express. If she gives a negative UA and a hair strand that's either negative or lower than the last one that she took, then her visitation will be reinstated. Okay, our next hearing will be set for August 14th, 2023. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so the parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of August 14 to see exactly
Yes,
what
Your
time
Honor.
we'll have.
Right.
That. Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lois, who do you work for?
The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
And what do you do for them?
I am a family-based safety services worker.
Can you very briefly inform the court why the OTP was requested by the department?
We requested the order to participate due to allegations of drug use by Rebecca and fighting and domestic violence between Rebecca and Travis in front of the children.
And during your work as a caseworker on this case, was it discovered that Mr. Molina struggled with alcohol use as well?
Yes.
Now, since the last hearing, can you give us an update on Rebecca Kibbe's progress?
There has been no progress and no contact.
Okay. Did she reinitiate the Padre program in March, but then was dismissed again for lack of participation in April?
Yes.
And did she drug screen in the month of March for you?
Yes.
And was that your analysis negative?
Yes.
However, prior drug screens were positive for methamphetamine. Is that correct?
Yes, she was positive on a hair test.
Are we asking the court to order any services for Rebecca that were recommended?
Yes, we would like for her to engage in the recommended services. Her Padre worker recommended that she go to inpatient treatment.
And are we asking the court to order that today?
Yes.
And can you please give us an update on Mr. Molina's progress with his services?
He has completed the Padre parenting program. He has completed a psychosocial assessment and individual counseling. And he has gotten signed up for the batterers intervention program. He is awaiting his assessment to determine whether or not he will be recommended to go to that. And he has also gotten signed up in a weekly men's recovery group, in addition to regular AA meetings and meetings with his sponsor.
Now, in your court report, you made a request that he attend AA more often. Do you have a certain number of classes in mind that you are asking the court to order for AA or NA classes for Mr. Molina?
In addition to the weekly men's meeting, I would say he needs to attend at least 2 to 3 times a week, the AA meetings. I think he's actually already attending that frequently.
Okay. Now, the AA, that stands for Alcoholics Anonymous, is that correct?
Yes.
And is that an outpatient substance abuse support group?
Yes.
Okay. Now, prior to the last hearing, there had been a domestic violence incident where Mr. Molina was arrested. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what month and year that was in?
I do not recall.
Was that within the last 3 or 4 months?
Yes.
And in that domestic violence incident, what is your understanding of what happened from Mr. Molina?
Mr. Molina invited Rebecca to the home. He said that she had agreed to sign some paperwork. However, they dispute that, and he went out to the vehicle that she drove to the home and busted out some windows.
And to your knowledge, was Mr. Molina subsequently arrested for that incident?
He was.
What concerning things have happened regarding alcohol use with Mr. Molina since you've been the caseworker?
That particular incident, he was described by law enforcement as—
I would object to hearsay, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, Lois, do you know from either Rebecca or from Travis whether or not Mr. Molina was drinking around the time of that incident?
Travis told me that he had been drinking that day.
And following that, you requested that his mother move in with him to help create more safety for the children. Is that correct?
Yes,
Now, it looks like at the time of the last hearing, Mr. Molina's mother was no longer living there. Is that correct as well?
no, she's still there.
Okay. Was there a period where she moved out?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
We just lifted the safety plan, but we've reinstated it since then.
Can you please explain to the court why you've reinstated the safety plan that asked Mr. Molina's mother to supervise him around the children?
There was an incident where he and his teenage
Your Honor, I'm going to object to hearsay on this also.
How do you know this, ma'am? Who is it? Knowledge from anyone that's not a party to this lawsuit?
his mother told me that he had been
Okay,
drinking.
now, if it's his mother, she's not a party, so the objection is sustained.
Now, Lois, have there been any incidents that you and Mr. Molina have spoken about that involved alcohol since the last hearing?
Yes.
What has Mr. Molina told you regarding alcohol use since the last hearing?
He has admitted to me that he has drank alcohol.
And did the child Buck receive any injuries, even small injuries, in that time frame?
Yes.
Can you please explain what you know from Mr. Molina happened?
He told me that during the move, he admitted to drinking. He also said that while they were moving, Buck climbed on a mini bike and the bike fell on him and he was injured.
Now, during the time in between the last hearing and this hearing, did the department also receive an additional intake on Mr. Molina?
Yes.
How many?
There was only one new. You mean since the beginning of the case? I'm sorry.
Since the last hearing?
Oh, yes. There was one new report about Buck having bruises to his bottom and the back of his leg.
And was that ruled out as any potential abuse by Mr. Molina, with the judgment being that Buck had sustained those injuries sliding down a hill at the canyon?
That investigation was ruled out as to Travis's responsibility for the injuries.
Now, were there any other calls to the department making allegations against Mr. Molina?
Yes.
Can you please tell us what those allegations were?
A report.
Object to hearsay, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I request that the court allow it as they are allegations. I am not purporting that they are true. So
Was it
they're
an
not offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Was it an intake?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if it's an intake, I'll let you testify to what the intake was without stating whether or not it's true or not true.
Lois, was that an intake received on Mr. Molina?
Yes, a call was made to the department stating that there were that Travis was in the front yard wrestling and fighting and screaming, and that he was believed to be under the influence of alcohol at the time that the witness saw the
incident?
Yes,
Did you discuss this new intake with Mr. Molina?
I did.
What did he state?
He told me that he and his oldest son were just having a good time, letting off some steam. He denied being under the influence of alcohol at that time.
Okay.
And law enforcement went to the home and they made no report to us.
Now, Mr. Molina had, you reported at the last hearing, had addressed the domestic violence in his individual counseling. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
However, at the last hearing, it was determined that that individual counseling was concluded prior to the domestic violence incident we discussed earlier where he was arrested. Is that correct?
Correct.
And due to that, we requested the court to order an assessment for batters intervention and prevention program, correct?
Yes.
And the court did order that, correct?
Correct.
Now, to Mr. Molina's credit, it sounds like by your report that he has been diligent and engaging in that service. Is that accurate?
He got the appointment scheduled very quickly. Unfortunately, beyond his control, that office moved locations and they've had to reschedule that appointment.
Do you believe that without Mr. Molina fully addressing the domestic violence and the alcohol use, that there continues to be a risk of danger to the child?
Yes,
And do you believe that as long as Ms. Kibbe's drug use continues to be unaddressed, that that presents a continuing risk to the child?
yes,
Are we asking the court to extend this temporary order requiring the parents to participate in services?
yes.
Now, as far as visitation, how are the visits with Ms. Kibbe going?
To my knowledge, she has not had any since her mom and her stopped cooperating with one another.
Okay. Now, in your report, you indicate that following the negative urinalysis, she was given one supervised visit with the child, Buck. Is that correct?
Yes,
How did that visit go?
it went well.
And why is visitation not continuing at this time?
My understanding is Rebecca and her mother had a disagreement about a situation that caused Rebecca to no longer want her mother to supervise her. To my knowledge, she has not found anyone else to supervise her, and she has not contacted me to schedule visits at the office. My attempts to reach her have been unsuccessful as well.
Okay, so it sounds like Ms. Kibbe is allowed to have supervised contact with the child, but she has not reached out to you to set those visits up. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at this time, does Mr. Molina have his mother supervising his contact with the children?
Yes.
Okay, are there any other details of that safety plan besides his mother supervising that contact?
Just that he'll participate in follow the court order for the recommended services.
Are we asking the court to order any alcohol or drug screens today?
Yes.
Can you please explain which ones we are asking for and for which parent?
I would like alcohol screen for Travis today and a UA test for Rebecca.
When was Rebecca Kibbe's last hair follicle?
I will have to look that up. Sorry. It was on March 2nd.
Did the result of that hair follicle cause you concern?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Ms. Mullinex?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Ricks, when is the last contact you did have with Ms. Kibbe?
It would have been in March.
And so I think we had a hearing in March. Was it before that last hearing or after?
I don't recall. I want to say it was before.
And you said that you've tried to contact her. Have you tried to contact her phone number?
Yes.
And what happens when you call her phone number?
I leave a voicemail message asking her to call. I send a text message to that same number.
And so as far as you know, it hasn't been disconnected or anything. You're just not getting any contact back.
Correct.
And with regard to the visitation, you said that she's welcome to visit if she has a supervisor or sets them up at visits up at the office.
Correct.
And when was the last visit, if you know?
It would have been back in March around the 20th, because the judge had said that she couldn't visit if she didn't take her drug test that day.
And so a moment ago, you said her last hair follicle was March 2nd. So has she taken another drug test since then?
She took the UA drug test the judge ordered on the 20th of March.
All right. And then she just hasn't set up the visits because her mother's not supervising.
Correct.
I pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Lucero?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Ricks, I want to address the statements with the issue that happened with when Travis was arrested. You referred to it as domestic violence and that he was arrested. Is that correct?
He was arrested.
But he was not arrested on any domestic violence charge, was he?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And also you had stated you had concerns about him addressing his alcohol use. Is that correct?
Yes.
But again, he has been going to 2 to 3 AA meetings every week, has he not?
Yes.
And now he's got this men's weekly meeting, this group. I can't remember what the name of it is, but he's set up to go to that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then as far as the batter's intervention program, were you aware that he did complete a class when he was on probation in his past back in 2015? Have you ever discussed that with him?
Yes, he told me about it.
Okay. So besides the issue that happened with the busted windows, there hasn't been any actual intakes. He hasn't been arrested or anything like that for domestic violence during the pendency of this case, has he?
Correct.
Okay. Now, as far as the original services that were ordered, he's completed all those, has he not?
Yes.
Okay. It's just that the batter's intervention program that y'all requested that in March, correct?
Yes.
And that was approximately 5 months into the case, 4.5, 5 months into the case?
Yes.
Okay. But even though there were allegations of fights between him and Miss Kibbe, when this case first started, y'all didn't ask for batter's intervention program at that point, did y'all?
No, we asked for them to stay away from one another.
Okay. Now, as far as you know, Travis works full-time, does he not?
Correct.
Okay. And then besides Buck, who'll be 3 in July, he also has a 16 and 13-year-old son that he has custody of, he takes care of. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as the issues where Buck had bruises on his bottom, y'all opened up an investigation into that, but y'all closed it. And as you stated, y'all ruled that out, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And during the pendency of this case, has Mr. Molina taken any alcohol, I guess, screens to see if he's been drinking?
Yes.
Okay. Has he failed any of those?
No.
Okay. How many of those have y'all given him?
I don't have an exact number. Let me see if I can look that up. I believe he's done 1 or 2 of them.
Okay. And again, both of those have been negative, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you stated that y'all wanted Miss Kibbe and Travis to stay away from each other. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then there for a while, they have been staying away from each other because Miss Kibbe's mom had been supervising the visits. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware that Mr. Molina has filed a modification in a prior case that he has with Miss Kibbe regarding Buck?
Yes, he told me that.
Okay. And as far as, and I know that his mom is staying with him currently, but normally he's responsible for taking the kids to and from school and taking Buck to and from daycare, correct?
Correct.
And since Buck has been with Mr. Molina for quite a few months now, he hasn't been hurt or he hasn't been placed in any danger that you have seen. Isn't that correct?
He has gotten injured.
Okay, but y'all ruled that out, right?
For the bruises to his bottom,
Okay.
there was no investigation into the injury with the mini bike.
Okay, but in your report, you stated that Mr. Molina told you what had happened and he sent you a picture right away.
Yes.
And then he locked up the motorbike so that Buck couldn't get hurt again. Isn't that true?
Correct.
But again, y'all haven't had any allegations that Mr. Molina has intentionally hurt Buck, have you?
Correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Ingram?
Ms. Lucero questioned you about a modification that had been filed. Are you aware if any temporary orders have been issued in that modification?
I'm not aware of that.
Are you aware whether or not Mr. Molina is represented by counsel in the modification?
I believe he is.
You know by whom?
Ms. Lucero.
It's my understanding that the prior order was an attorney general order, which made the parents joint managing conservators and gave the mother the right to establish primary residence. Is that also your understanding?
Yes.
So unless there have been some temporary orders issued in the modification that changes that, if CPS gets out of this, Buck's going back home to his mother.
Yes. That's a possibility.
Well, it's not only a possibility, that's what the orders say. Is that not correct?
Correct.
That's the witness.
Anyone have further questions for Ms. Ricks?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay.
Lois, and Your Honor, we request that the court take judicial notice of that temporary order for required participation services.
Okay, so noted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lois, that original order ordered Mr. Molina to complete anger management. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did he complete that?
We had him handle that through his individual counseling.
Why?
Because of his full-time employment, it would have made it difficult for him to attend an all-day single session.
Okay. Now, again, this incident with the broken window occurred after he completed that individual counseling and him taking, as Ms. Lucetto questioned you about, batter's intervention in 2015, correct?
Correct.
Do you believe that that domestic violence issue or anger issue continues to need to be addressed?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else? All right, then, Ms. Ricks, has Mr. Molina, has he done the BIP intake, the evaluation?
No, that's the one that had to be rescheduled. It was
Okay.
supposed to be done the 12th and it's been moved to, I believe, the 28th or the 29th.
Okay, so we don't know if there'll be any recommendation come out of that or not.
Correct.
Okay. And then in addition to that, then basically from what I'm hearing, the department just wants Mr. Molina to continue doing the AAs and the men's group, which he's doing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And during the move, you talked about, you told me that Mr. Molina admitted that he was drinking when the mini bike incident happened.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Miss Lucero, Miss Gutierrez, do you have any other witnesses?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Miss Mullinax, any witnesses?
No, you're on arrest.
All right. Miss Lucero.
Your Honor, I'd call my client, Travis
Thank
Molina.
you. Miss Lucero.
Thank you, Your Honor. Travis, you've been in during this hearing and you heard Ms. Ricks testify, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do you remember speaking to Ms. Ricks about the move and that you had been drinking? Do you remember
Yes,
talking to
ma'am.
her about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And had you been drinking throughout the day or what was going on there?
No, I had one beer whenever we were done moving, and this was after the accident with Buck getting the mini bike and after fixing the garage door.
Okay. So were you drunk on that day?
No.
Okay. Now, as far as the BIP program, you took a BIP program back in 2015, is that right? You completed
ma'am.
it? Okay.
Yes.
And then you have the intake set for this assessment at the end of this month, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And as far as whenever Buck received the bruises on his bottom, you sent photos or a video to Ms. Ricks, is that correct?
Yes, we spent all day at the canyon the
Okay.
weekend prior.
All right, then. Now, here, the end of last week, did you reach out to me to maybe start representing you in that modification suit that you have pending?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you had issues with the procedural part of trying to get Ms. Kibbe served, things like that?
Yes, due to not having a primary residence to get her served.
And did you and I discuss that we need to get that moving on that pretty quickly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because you heard Mr. The attorney for Buck state that there's a concern that if CPS gets out of this case, then Ms. Kibbe could just step in and take Buck, correct?
That is correct. And I do not oppose an extension if we need one to keep that from happening. So.
Okay. During the pendency of this case, do you believe that the AA meetings have been helping you?
Yes, ma'am. They've been helping me. Yes, I believe so.
And do you have a sponsor, Mr. Molina?
Yeah, I talk to him daily. He would do the upon awakening and upon retiring.
Okay. All right, then I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Gutierrez, any questions?
I do have just a couple of questions. Mr. Molina, how much alcohol do you typically drink in order to consider yourself drunk?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Whenever to consider myself drunk, it'd have to be 4 or more, at least 4 or 5 beers.
Okay, pass the witness.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, Mr. Ingram, anything to add today?
No, sir. I think Buck's doing well with his father, but because of that, especially because of that prior order, this case needs to be extended. Buck has no business going back with his mother right now. That's for sure.
Your Honor, and I'd like to address that before you make a ruling if possible.
Go ahead.
I know that we have a month before this case is up for dismissal, and I would ask the court to delay, like, or maybe enter something to where if temporary orders can be entered in the modification case, then this case could be dismissed out. I mean, I understand the concern that we don't want to just kind of live it in limbo. CPS gets out and Ms. Kibbe can step back in. But if, if we could have just, a couple of weeks to get her served and get a temporary order hopefully entered, then I would ask the court not to extend it yet, but to wait till closer to the dismissal date. Excuse me. No?
I think it's, it's a kind of a problem for my office to do that. What I think we can do is I'm just going to, well, I'll make my ruling here in a minute, but I'm going to extend it. I can tell you that, but because
Okay.
I don't want Buck going back to his mom today.
Okay.
So, but if you get a temporary order in place, anybody can ask to move up the next compliance hearing, and I'll consider whether or not that case adequately protects Buck, and I can go ahead and just dismiss this one. But I don't want to
Okay.
put that might be on the calendar and might not.
I understand. All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, then, based on what I've heard, then I am going to grant the department's motion to extend this order to participate case. I'll order the parents to continue working the services as previously ordered. And what I mean there, just so it's real clear for Mr. Molina, that's only that he continue to attend AA and the men's group that he's doing and that he says are helpful, and that he go through with the BIP assessment, because I've already ordered that, and anything it recommends. If it doesn't recommend anything, then the only two things that this court's ordering that Mr. Molina do is continue his AA and men's group. So in addition, I will order that Ms. Kibbe successfully complete inpatient drug treatment program. I'm going to order that Ms. Kibbe UA by 4 p.m. today at Care Express. As far as the request for Mr. Molina, I'm not going to order that he alcohol screen by 4 p.m. today. It's getting pretty late. I will order it that as long as this case is pending, that he submit to alcohol screening as requested by St. Francis or the department, but I'm not going to put him under a 2-hour window to get it done today. So, all right, how far out do we want this compliance hearing? Ms. Lucero, is there a hearing date set for a temporary order in the SAPSR?
No, Your Honor, and I just wanted to be clear. We have not. I had just talked with Mr. Molina about representing him in this case to get it moving, and so we're going to meet later on this week. So
Okay.
I'm hoping within the next 2 weeks, to be honest.
You
Yeah,
haven't even filed it yet.
I haven't filed it yet. I mean, he has something filed, but I'm going to sub in and then get her served.
All right. Well, okay. For compliance, I've got May 15th, June 12th, or July 17th.
Your Honor, I think considering all the moving parts, it might be wise just to come back anytime in May, Your Honor.
Okay.
I think that'll give Ms. Lucero time to file something, and it sounds like the court would consider dismissing the case if she gets an emergency order or something to that effect. And
Okay.
also it would give us time for Mr. Molina to complete his BIP assessment and see whether or not that BIP is ordered.
Okay. All right. Then I will set the next compliance for May 15th, 2023. That will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket to see exactly what time that hearing will take place.